I think some of the biggest pressures lie in things we don't understand. If we don't know how it works, then we feel all tight inside when we're trying to get it done. Well, one of the things I don't understand is logistics, shipping and receiving and transferring and food and all the things that go into it. We're going to talk about it next. Let's lower the pressure when it comes to that. Mike Pucillo is our guest next on Purpose Under Pressure. Well, welcome back. My name's Brian, and this is Purpose Under Pressure. It's a podcast about developing sales and leadership success on purpose while you're underneath a whole lot of pressure. It's brought to you by the professional sales and leadership training team at Sandler by the Ruby Group. You'll find them in Akron and Columbus, Ohio. They're in Jacksonville, Florida. They're in Capital Region, New York. They do their work on purpose so that you and your team can represent that way. What does that mean? It means you're trying to do something right. You're trying to do something the way your business was meant to be, serve the people you're meant to serve in a way that they need to be served. Sound familiar? We're not just doing things haphazardly and off the cuff. We're not hoping for luck. We're doing things on purpose. That's what this show's about. That's what they're about at Sandler by the Ruby Group. If you like that idea, it's worth a call. Go ahead and connect with them online at therubygroup.sandler.com. The Ruby Group, actionable strategies for today's toughest business challenges. So let's get cooking. You want to talk about challenges? This is something that hurts my head. Logistics, shipping, freight. How does one thing, and people who understand laugh at me when I say this, but how does one thing get from here to there? Made, packaged, stored, shipped, received, stocked, and sold. Never late, never out of stock. There's always enough milk on the shelf. There's always enough chicken wings. I don't get it. It hurts my head sometimes to think about how the world works and how the world goes around. So let's talk about it. Mike Pucillo, he's the president of Entourage Freight Solutions. It's a division of the Handline Group. He's in Columbus, Ohio, and he's our guest today. Mike, welcome to Purpose Under Pressure.
Thanks for having me, Brian. Excited to talk about freight.
I am too. I love talking about things I don't understand. And I'm serious. This is the thing that drives me crazy. Every single grocery store, every single restaurant, like anywhere you go, you can get chicken wings. I know you guys don't probably do a lot of food and everything, but the concept is, how are there that many chickens, and how are there that many wings, and do we never run out of stock, and how is there always milk on the shelves, and how is there always product in the stores? I don't get it, and you deal with it every day. Tell me a little bit more about what you guys do specifically. I don't think it's chicken wings, but tell me more about what you guys do and kind of what's going well in a tough world for you guys.
Yeah, it's actually interesting. We do a lot of food. We don't do a lot of chicken wings.
Okay.
We do some. The majority of the business that we do is fresh produce. So I agree with you.
Yep.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, the difference that too is the second you cut a head of lettuce at the farm in California, you got 12 days to eat it before it goes bad, right? And you got to ship it from California to Columbus, Ohio. It's got to go to a distribution center. It's got to go to a grocery store. It's then got to be sitting out for you to pick it up. So I do agree with you that, especially when it comes to food products and perishable food products, it's pretty amazing. On the other hand, we also do a lot of stuff with fast food restaurants. So if you ever buy a hamburger at a restaurant, you have a bun, you have meat, you have lettuce, tomatoes, onions, ketchup, mustard, mayo. You're talking about 15 different things that have to get shipped that typically have a shelf life and then wrapped up, put in a bag, and you're going to eat it. It's amazing. One, the sheer volume that is moving across the United States on the roads at all times. Two, the amount of timing that has to be almost perfect for these things to work. And the ability that, if you go to a restaurant, it's very rare that you see a sign that says, sorry, due to something, we don't have lettuce. It is pretty rare. It does happen from time to time, but it's actually amazing at how rare it actually does happen.
It's extremely rare. And like you said, it's only 12 days from California to here. And it's not just here. It's every single town in the country. That's, I don't know, thousands, hundreds of thousands of restaurants that have to have that lettuce from California in 12 days. What kind of an operation are you running then? Are you nationwide? Are you how do you do that focus? How do you get it done?
Yeah. So I mean, there's two sides of our business. With the Handline Group, one side of it is the food side of it. The other side of it is the logistics side of it. So I sit over top of the logistics side of the business.
Mm-hmm.
So our business is a little bit different strictly than just the food. The food's a little bit more regionalized into the different areas that we at. So we operate a facility in Central Ohio. We operate a facility in Cedar Rapids, Iowa, and Vidalia, Georgia. So we're able to hit pretty much, um, I think it's like 37 states within, a 2-day transit from our facilities. So we have a pretty far reach when it comes to that side. Not the entire United States. We have some co-packers that we work with out west, but on the
Okay.
logistics side, I mean, we work with pretty much anyone, anywhere throughout the United States. So on the logistics side of our business, the way our business works is we're a third party intermediary where we don't have any of our own trucks. We contract out with typically small trucking fleets with anywhere from 2 to 3 trucks to like 50 trucks is kind of the sweet spot for our logistics business. I mean, we work with some larger companies and we work with some just owner operators that have one truck that drive themselves. And that side of the business, again, we don't own any of our own assets. We are typically just contracting with those trucking companies that have the assets. And then on the customer side, they understand that, right? They know that because of that, we're able to have a little bit larger reach than a trucking company. So if a trucking company's got 50 trucks and they have 50 orders that they have to fill, they can't fill another one. We are able to step in and be able to fill those gaps and those holes for the companies that need that product shipped.
So, as the intermediary, if I understand this properly, the buck stops with you, right? You don't really have the trucks and you're not really doing the work. But if something goes wrong, something doesn't show up on time, your customer's calling you. Is that right?
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, yeah. So it's not, we don't have control over the driver themselves, like the trucking company themselves does. We don't have control of certain aspects of it, but our job is to be there to, one, make sure that we have capacity for our customers so we can always pick something up for them. Two, update them and provide them with the service that they need. Um, and in our industry, things happen. Trucks break down, flat tires,
Sure.
accidents, all sorts of different issues that come up. Delays at shipping points, road closures, weather conditions. I mean, there's you name it. There's something that can go wrong with what we do. So our job is to make sure that we're constantly updating our customers. No different than when you buy a package from Amazon and you see that it's supposed to be here on Thursday and it's Tuesday and it says left the facility, it's en route, it's getting to the main facility, it's on the truck to come out to your house, it's out for delivery, it's delivered, here's a picture of it. We do something very similar to that. We're updating our customers throughout transit, just making sure everything's on time. And if there is a delay, we're making sure that they know that because they have facilities that are waiting for that product to come in, whether they're going to process it or they're just going to redistribute it. They have to make sure that these people are there to receive it, do whatever they need to do with it, and then ship it back out because we do have a dying product on our truck.
Yeah. So how do when you're looking at trying to figure out the pressures, so you just talked about some of the issues, the emergencies that pop up, but there are daily pressures that are constantly changing in the global economy, in the local economy. There's all kinds of things that you're dealing with. What are the big pressures on a day-to-day basis that you're trying to overcome? And I think the secondary question is, how do you differentiate yourself from others who are trying to do the same thing in this same kind of crazy environment?
Yeah, there's a lot of different pressures, and depending on the time of the year, there's different pressures. So, for example, there's weather conditions that happen throughout the United States. So you might be in Florida and it's 85 degrees and it's sunny, but this product is coming from the Pacific Northwest, and there's a snowstorm that is going through Route 80 up there that is shutting down
Hmm.
the road. You're not even thinking about those things because you're sitting down on the beach and it's 85 degrees and you just want your potato, right? Um, So we have to make sure that we can see those things, and sometimes it's whether it's different routes that trucks take to try to avoid weather, um, things like that. Making sure that there is enough time, knowing that if it's going to be a time period where, let's just say, usually it's 70 miles an hour speed limit, it's going to get down to 40, or we know they're not going to be average it. We make sure that we're updating our customers throughout that, and making sure that if there's any appointments, we have to make sure those appointments get rescheduled and make sure that they know when the product's going to be there at the end of the day. There's weather issues. You're looking right now, fuel is at, unprecedented changes in fuel. It's not the highest it's ever been, but it's the fastest it's ever increased. And it's about 20% of a trucking company's cost, right? So when fuel increases by 40%, essentially overnight, and it's 20% of your operating costs, I mean, for you
It
to
doesn't
get
leave
your
any left
product
over.
there, it's just different. Like, you have to make sure you're doing that. So, there's a lot of pressures from a costing standpoint. There's a lot of pressures from an on-time standpoint. That being said, what separates us from anybody else? At the end of the day, we're providing a service that there's a lot of companies out there that are providing the same service. What we want to make sure that we can provide to our customers, one, is transparency and making sure that any changes or deviations from what they're expecting, they're known. Two, we want to make sure that we're upfront, honest about anything and everything that we do. So whether it happens to be a truck breaks down before it gets loaded, we're updating our customers, letting them know those things are happening. So they know there might be a slight delay. There might not be a delay. And sometimes it does make us, come off as, oh, there's a problem, and we're talking to our customers about problems, but we would rather talk to them about a problem that doesn't end up happening than not. So a lot of it comes back to transparency. And another thing is just capacity, right? So you have to, in what we do, essentially we have customers and we have customers on the other side. Both our trucking companies that we work with and our customers that actually write us a check, they are our customers, and we have to treat both of them fairly. And sometimes getting in the middle of that, it can cause some problems because not everyone's goals are always aligned. And you have to just make sure that at the end of the day, you're fair to both sides of the coin, and you are providing the best possible service for your customer, and you're always there for your customer when they need you. And sometimes that's answering the phone at 2 o'clock in the morning because there's a problem. Sometimes it's just letting the customer know that you're going to be 2 hours late. And sometimes it's letting them know that there was an accident. Everyone's okay. The product is on the floor. So we're going to have to get a new shipment that comes out. I mean, those are unfortunate situations that happen. And you can either hide from those situations or you can try to be in front of them. And sometimes while being in front of them, it's not easy, and no one likes to be ahead of those things. At the end of the day, it's the right thing to do.
And quite often, and that's something I've learned from Sandler. I think it was Mike Jones who told me, "Hey, just do the next right thing. When you can't figure it out, just do the right thing. You're always going to come out on the right side, even if you're not quite sure, where you're heading. Make the next right decision." I'm interested in the selling process. Your company, is it trying to grow? Is it trying to maintain? How does that work for your organization?
Yeah, I mean, we're always trying to grow. I mean, we live in a pretty entrepreneurial type of group of companies. So the owner of our company is always looking for us to try to grow. I mean, that's his. If you're not
Yeah,
growing, you're dying, right?
that's what I was just gonna say. Right. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and even that being said, there's always attrition within business, right? So we're
That's right.
every year we're gonna have some attrition in customers, whether it's their marketing changes and what we're doing for them doesn't actually fit, or it's not a good fit with how we operate versus somebody else. So, we're always trying to grow while knowing that there's going to be some attrition. So you almost have to grow twice, right? So if you want to try to grow by 10%, you got to probably try to grow by 20% just to maintain that 10%. So yes, we are constantly under pressure to always be trying to grow not only our book of business, but also the people within our business, right? And I think that's really important that, we bring a lot of younger people into our organization, and we bring a lot of experienced people into our organizations for them to feed off each other so they can be constantly growing. And same thing with me. I'm learning something new. It's part of the reason why I like what I do. Is in our industry, nothing is really ever the same. No problem is
Yeah.
exactly the same. So I'm learning, I'm growing, while the people around me are doing the same thing.
How do you train a sales staff? How do you train your team to be experts at something that's constantly changing and still deliver excellence on the other side? Your customers aren't paying for you to learn. They want you to know
Yes.
it already. And yet everything is changing so fast. The reason I ask this question, salespeople learn their thing really well and they get good, almost like a basketball player or they get good at hitting that foul shot over and over and over and over again. But it sounds like your world is just constantly changing. The wind's coming at all kinds of different directions. How do you get your people ramped up to be experts while they're learning in a new world?
Looking at the typical salesperson, everything they do day in and day out, if we simplify all of that and really boil it down, they have two superpowers. First superpower that salespeople have is how they behave. Second superpower they have is what they say. As a seller, we only have two problems. We either said something or did something that we should not have said or done, or we didn't say something or do something that we should have said or done.
How do you get your people ramped up to be experts while they're learning in a new world?
Well, I think it's different on the sales side as it is on the operations side. I mean, you can look at the sales side and say, hey, you're going to sell the same way to this customer, to the next customer. That being said, I mean, there are nuances in selling to these to our clients or our prospects. On the operations side, it's a little bit different, right? So on the operations side, it's
Yeah.
kind of like you have to teach them that one, it's never going to be perfect. And if you have the expectation that you're going to come in today and it's going to be perfect, you're setting yourself up to fail. What you need to come into is saying, okay, I know it's not going to be perfect. How can I fix this problem that I've never experienced before? You can be, and that could, mentally, that can be draining on somebody, or it can be exciting for some people. So yes, no situation is exactly the same, but there are similarities into, okay, hey, I made this mistake last time. I didn't ask this question, or I asked this question in a certain way that I didn't get the answer the exact way I wanted it, or I should have wanted it. I'll give you an example. Like, we do a lot of temperature controlled shipments where we can ask a truck driver while they're hauling the product, hey, are you running at 34 degrees? And the truck driver can just say yes, right? Or you can ask the question in a different way of saying, what temperature are you running your refrigerated unit at? One of them forces them to know what they're running it at. The other one just says, I can say a yes or no answer, right? So you're not really learning per se that you have to ask the question. You're learning maybe a better way of approaching that situation because you're not in the truck. We are in between. So again, just learning maybe different ways of wording certain things on the operations side could be the difference between a truckload of tomatoes being frozen and a truckload of tomatoes arriving completely fine. I mean, that's the reality of what we do. So on the sales side, I think the training is just coming back with, we use a lot of the Sandler training, and just it's maybe asking a question a little bit differently than somebody else would, very similar to what I just talked about, where you're trying to find the whys, you're trying to find a no is just as good as a yes. You're trying to uncover problems that even a customer may not realize is a problem for them yet. So I think on the sales side, it's more about learning and navigating our industry and knowing the problems that exist for most people and trying to uncover if that's also a problem for your prospect.
I'm interested. Are your operations people, and I've got a follow-up question to this, but I'm interested, are your operations people trained as well in Sandler? Because they're asking questions, they're trying to solve problems, they're trying to make sure problems don't take place, make sure there's still a good fit. Do they understand a little bit of the ideology that the salespeople are talking about as well with Sandler?
Yes, I mean we have our company is broken up with a team that basically covers our orders that we have while working with the trucking companies. Another portion of it is more on like the account management, customer success side of things, where they're the ones day to day working with the customers and working with our carrier team to make sure that things are arriving. They're communicating with the customer. And then we have a kind of like a more of a business development, higher level sales team. So the two sides of our business that talk to our customers, we do have involved with Sandler, because, to your point, they are dealing with the customer, they're dealing with the problems, they're trying to be solutions oriented as well versus just doing what the customer asks or just providing information. Like, you still have to provide a solution, and Sandler does. Again, the way Sandler works and the way that you're actually selling is very similar to the way that you may have to manage as well too. So yes, we do utilize Sandler for both essentially our account management team and our sales team, because there's a lot of crossover there.
Well, you answered my follow-up question. And what I was a lifetime ago, I was a sales manager leader, and I used to tell everybody on the team, hey, everyone is sales. People would say, I don't want to do sales. I can't do sales. They don't understand that if they're customer facing at all, they are in sales. And I think you're going to agree with me on that. If you're talking to a customer and they have an issue and you can help them solve it, that's sales. Too many people think it's, how do I earn money? How do I get money to change hands? How do I close a deal? That's not a way a professional salesperson does it. And I think if more people in an organization, and maybe you can talk about this a little bit, if more people in an organization see themselves as problem solvers, as solution makers, as salespeople in a professional sense, the organization really can take off, can it?
Yes. I mean, I think being customer focused is sales, to your point, right?
That's it.
Whatever that actually means, right? So if it's talking to the customer about being on time, like, that's part of sales. You may not be closing a deal per se, but you are helping provide growth for the organization by talking to the customer. And yes, there's there's better ways of doing that. So I agree with you. I think sales, there's an idea that sales is just about closing. Sales is also about problem solving. Sales is also about uncovering issues that, again, like I said, your customers don't even know are problems, and they don't even know that it's costing them money. One of the things that we have to deal with is on the logistics side of the business is we arrive at a location, and because we are in the produce aspect of the logistics world, it's not as cut and dry as you show up, they load 10 pallets on your truck, and you drive away. A lot of this product that we are hauling is being harvested that day. So it's being harvested, cut, washed, cleaned, all of that cooled down to the proper temperature within 10 to 12 hours. So sometimes these trucking companies have to sit at these facilities for an extended period of time. That is money out of the driver's pocket. That is, not really an opportunity, but it is, there's a cost in doing that. And if you sit at a location for 5 hours versus 2 hours, I mean, just think about that as just a dollar per hour. It costs you $40 an hour. And when you're hauling thousands of shipments a month, tens of thousands of shipments a month, and those hours start adding up, I mean, it starts costing hundreds and hundreds of thousands of dollars as well. So when you can uncover that for your customers, so they can work with the people that are supplying them and saying, hey, we're sitting here for 6 hours, we need to get that down to 4. We can provide that visibility to our customers that they're not able to see or weren't able to see it in the past, and maybe cut down on their costs because of those things. So again, talking about sales, it is a sales role, and you're able to save a customer money and save your trucking companies from sitting from 3 hours to 6 hours. Like, it's a big deal. And there is a huge cost component in our industry that is tied up with just sitting and waiting.
And especially you didn't use the word, but I'll say it, in a perceived commodity where people can get it anywhere else. If you can save $1 here, people are going to take it. And so you have to be able to differentiate yourself down the line, and everybody has to care about that. I'm interested for Entourage Freight Solutions as we kind of get towards the end here. With all the different winds blowing and all the different things happening, what are the main hurdles that you see moving forward that you're going to have to lead in a different way, or maybe in a better way even, to get your team ramped up to overcome some of the problems that are going to be on the horizon?
Yeah, I mean, I think there's a few major points I would point to that it could either be a problem or it can be an opportunity for you. And I would say AI is probably one of the, and I'm sure AI is a big talking
Always.
point
Yep.
everywhere. Honestly, I'm kind of sick of hearing it. I'm kind of sick of, talking about it, but it's so important that at least you have your hands wrapped around it. But I think AI is one that is coming for all industries. And again, you could either embrace it and it be a
In a
part
good way
of
or in a bad way. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
correct. And you can kind of embrace it, or you can kind of continue to push it away. I've seen it happen both ways. I personally believe that, with what we do, there is a human touch that is very important, that without it, you're going to miss some things. Again, that being said, there's ways to make people more efficient by using AI the proper way. And there's a way of making it the industry more efficient by having AI built into your systems, into your tools, having your people work with it. I mean, when you're taking 75 to 200 phone calls a day, there's ways to making you more efficient in doing that, and using AI to help you with those certain aspects of it is extremely beneficial. There's AI built into tracking and tracing the trucks throughout transit. There's AI built into time management of how long it's going to take. That takes into account weather. It takes into account, speed limit. I mean, again, everyone uses some sort of GPS system now in their cars, right? Whether it's, Google Maps or it's Waze or whatever, it takes into account the fact that there is maybe an accident 30 miles ahead and you're going to go a different route. Or it's going to take you an extra 15 minutes to get there. So we are living in a world where AI has been around us for a long time. And I don't think people really realize how much even just a Google search. I mean, that is AI, right? That is artificial intelligence taking what you're saying and doing that. So I think the companies and the organizations that embrace it the proper way to make their people more efficient and make their organization better will be better positioned for the future. And on the flip side, if you don't do that, I do think it's going to be a situation where it's going to be hard for you to keep up.
It's amazing to me, and I can't think of anything. I think back to when email and computers were created, which I'm old enough to remember. I'm old enough to remember not having these things at all. No computers. It wasn't there. And then all of a sudden we had this tool, and all anybody could think of to use email for was to share jokes. That's all it was, because no one understood, at least when it began, how amazing this internet thing could be. And I remember even saying once to my leadership team in a different career, I said, this internet thing, I said, it's not like people are ever going to buy groceries. It's not like people are going to buy their clothes online. Come on. That was me. The world is so far more advanced. This AI was dropped in our lap without a rule book, without an instruction guide. And it's the most powerful thing in the world, and we have no idea. I think what Sandler would say is to be curious. Don't pretend you know it all, because you don't. And if somebody wants to know how do I do this? How do I do that? I think the biggest strength we can have with AI now is to learn to ask questions, to learn to be dumb and say, can it do this? Probably. Let's go do that. So anyway, that's my soapbox.
And one thing I would say, I think to your point of, we had email, we didn't even know what it could do, or we didn't, internet, we didn't know you're going to be able to buy clothes. I mean, some of the things that I think about today that potentially could be there in the future, it's like, no, that can't happen. But, about a year and a half ago, I'll give you an example of one. I think this is really interesting. About a year and a half ago, I listened to someone talk, and they talked about potentially the ability for you to be able to buy something online on the internet, as simple as a food product, and then having a 3D printer print that item for you.
The food?
And you have it. It could be food, right? So when I heard that, I was like, how could that possibly be the case? Like, that doesn't make sense to me. Like, you can't make something, And last week, I heard this. I was listening to this podcast, and they were talking about this article where they they used a 3D printer to print a rhino tusk that has the DNA, the exact DNA of a rhino tusk. And they plan to basically mass produce this and flood the market, the black market of, rhino tusk or whatever that's out there, and drive the cost down so much that poachers do not want to, they won't even have the ability to go out and poach these animals for this product. Right. So again, it's like, and I know those things are kind of a little bit of a stretch, but at the same time, it's the ability to be able to create something that basically looks like it's living or was living with the same DNA to maybe change the course of action of poachers.
To change, which changes the world. Exactly.
Correct.
And that's why the people, as we wrap up here, the people who are saying, no, it can't be done, are done. They're lost.
Yeah. Yep.
You got to stay curious. You got to expect more. You got to expect more of your people. You got to dream bigger, because your customers are going to need it from you, because they're in the same boat as well. Wow. That's big stuff. And again, logistics is right in the middle of it. Someday, maybe you'll be, 3D printing as part of your, who knows? Bring it on, right?
It is wild. And your point, like, stay curious. I think that's really important. And I mean, anything's possible today. I mean, it really is. It's amazing. Some of the technologies that's out there, that what they're trying to do. I mean, it's wild. And again, I'm in a trucking industry, and we're talking about artificially, creating a rhino or elephant tusk or whatever it happened to be. It's wild how things can just intertwine as well too.
It's because it matters. It all comes together. It's all going to come together, and you got to keep your eye on the ball the entire time. Mike, if someone wanted to reach out to you, learn more about Entourage Freight Solutions, learn more about you, talk to you about anything we've talked about today, how would they do that?
I mean, best way is to get a hold of me is through email. Mike at Entourage Freight Solutions. It's actually Mike at E as in Edward, F as in Frank Solutions.com. It's probably the best way if they're interested, or if they need something shipped. We're happy to try to help them out with that.
Yeah. And I think you can. I like your approach. I like the way that there are pressures circling around you even as we speak. And yet you're calm and cool, and you're dreaming big. And I don't think you have a lot of no's in your portfolio. I think you're going to find a way to say yes. And not just to say yes to get a deal, but to deliver excellence. I think that's who you are, Mike. And I appreciate your sharing that with us today on Purpose Under Pressure.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. That's Mike Pucillo. He's president at Entourage Freight Solutions. They're a division of the Handline Group in Columbus, Ohio. We thank him for being a guest on Purpose Under Pressure. And folks, thank you for being here. Thanks for listening. Thanks for watching. There's lots of problems out there to solve, many that we don't even know exist, like we just talked about in this show. And we talk about those pressures here. We do it every week. And if you like it, please subscribe so you won't miss another show. Let a friend know too that this show is worth watching, so that they can be on purpose as well. You'll find all past episodes of Purpose Under Pressure at brianmediastrategies.com/podcast and wherever you stream your favorite shows. It's brought to you by the Ruby Group, actionable strategies for today's toughest business challenges. Until next time, no matter how high the pressure gets, just stay on purpose.